let's examine another map. Let's look at another one. You know, the European distribution of RB1Y DNA gene. So Shabbat's over now, so it's getting a little bit darker. Right. The distribution of RB1 gene. Let's look at another map for that. Okay. Right. I like this one actually. I like this one better. You know, it's like you can see like the diffusion based on mutation. That's why I like this one better. You know, it's like it's all color coded from purple to light pink. You know, just look at the way it is. You know, having frequencies of over 60, that's for the purple, you see over 60%, and light pink from 5 to about 10%, you know, varying in the frequency, but you can see the distribution based on the mutation of the genes. So it's a very good one. Okay, and you just pay attention to that Iberia region, you know. Let's carry on. So there's a strong, you see this map, and this map is still, you can still see the map, right? Okay, I'm going to put it up again. Between the haplogroup, Britain, you can see similarities between the haplogroups of Britain, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, and Iberia. Interestingly, we see slight differences in haplogroup found in England and in comparison to the ones found in Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. So that's why I like this map specifically. You know, you can see the difference. There's a clear difference, you know, in the distribution between the England. So what's different about the English then from Britain and Irish? Okay, let's keep going. So all white people are the same. Like they say, all black people are the same. You know, to say that is just foolishness. It's ignorance. Right, anyone familiar with the phrase black Irish will find this not much of a surprise. No Negro, no Irish, no dogs. Remember that code, like it used to say at that time. No Negroes, no Irish, no dogs. You know, because they knew that Irish, you know, it's like how certain parts of Europe were anti-Semitic. Okay, that's why Bloomberg tried to come up with the people that came from the Caucasus Mountains were of the pure seed. So you see the similarities between the DNA of most Ireland, Wales, and part of Scotland, and you see that this is more similar to that of central and southern parts of Spain and Portugal, just like we see. That's where Iberia is, around that region, Spain and Portugal, right? In comparison to the DNA of the English, okay, which seems to share DNA with Iberian Peninsula and places like Germany, very important to see that as well. So they all sharing the same. Germany, Nazis. That's why I've got this book, The Nazis. Okay, so while we're in Germany now, let's just like build up on that. Let's go to this book, The Nazis now. I'm going to bring you out. Let's go straight to the point. I'm just going to bring just one thing out, you know, that stands out. Okay, I'm going to explain a lot about what was happening during the time of, you know, Hitler. What was Hitler really about? What did he know? You know, and what was he trying to show? Okay, he knew a lot of things, and he was what you call he was the first person that was starting this New World Order. Okay, so the New World Order was about, you know, all nations coming out together as one under white supremacy, under the Zionists, you know, under Edom, you know, because they know it's all going to be all nations coming under Yasharallah, under Yeshaya as our king. But they're always trying to fight for this New World Order, for them to have all the kingdoms. Because right now, all the kingdoms are united. When Yeshaya in the Tower of Babel struck, that was that New World Order started. He struck the New World Order, so all the languages were kind of like divided. So all through, you see the Assyrian Empire, they had one language, always trying to fight for one language. Okay, so that's what this whole thing is about. You want to have one religion, you want to have one language, you want to have all be common, so that you have one Lord over you, which is Satan, and that's what's not going to happen. Yeshua is going to come, and all dominion is going to be given to him. You know, every knee shall bow. Right. So let's go through this book, The Nazi. Let's go to page 131 if you have the book. I'm just going to read something very quickly. It says Goebbels, that's the second paragraph, spearheaded the anti-Semitic radio campaign. Among other things, he held German Jews, right, responsible for actions of foreign Jews. German Jews, foreign Jews, what are they talking about? After World War One, if they announced today, he proclaimed in the broadcast that they would do nothing when the King of England and America dragged the German national regime in the mud. So we're looking at Germany, but it's a German Jews, and then you have this others in England and America. What's going on there? So we know that the British, and America, they're the same. Okay, the German Jews, that's what we started. That was the last statement. So what's going on? Let me give you a brief history who Hitler really was and what he was about. So Hitler, obviously, he's an Edomite. So we'll start reading now. We're going to prove that R1b gene is the Edom. And the reason why I stopped there is because of Germany. Talking about the distribution of the R1b, RB1 gene in Germany. So you had the Germans, the Jews, that's the ones that were claiming to be Jews, like, right, the Jewish. They converted to the way of life and customs of the original Jews. Okay, that's why they're Jewish. So they were happy. They were called what you call the Orthodox Jews. They were happy just practicing Judaism, and you had other people of Europe that were anti-Shemitic, that were against the Shemitic. Because remember, Edom is also Shem as well. Okay, so when they're talking about Shemitic, they're not speaking about us, but that doesn't mean they don't know us. They just don't want to speak about us because they want to be the ones that carry the blessings. Okay, right. So when you see now that I'll talk about the Orthodox Jews, and you have what you call the Reformed Jews. Now the Orthodox Jews, right, they were the ones that they were happy just practicing their Judaism, but the prophecy was that when Yeshua comes, when the Messiah comes, that our Hamashiach was going to restore the nation of Yasharallah back again, and we're going to go back to our own land. So they were like, you don't have to wait for that. The Reformed Jews wanted to fulfill that prophecy on their own, and the Orthodox Jews said, that's the meaning of reformed. So it's a new type of Judaism. We Reformed Jews, we don't need the Messiah to come back to set up the nation of Israel. So that's what Hitler was all about. So when you see the Holocaust that happened, the Holocaust was where he killed the people in these concentration camps and all of that, right, was basically, the word Holocaust means sacrifice. So they sacrificed their own people to make sure that they set up this nation called Yasharallah, Israel, under their own, thing, and then change the ways, change the laws. That's what the scripture talks about in Daniel, that they will change the laws and the times. So they change the laws, they change the language. We're speaking Yiddish. Yiddish is rubbish. Change the laws, change the times. So that's what was happening. This is what was going on. You see, an Edomite was ruling over Yasharallah during the time of Yeshua came. So when Yeshua came, it was more political than anything else. He was doing a lot of political stuff. And the Sanhedrin was sold out to Rome. So he was always attacking them, because they were sellouts. Just like we have sellout leaders today, like that Farrakhan, Farrakhan, Farah, whatever you are. It's this complete sellout, man. He's a bastard as well, because he's not our people. Right. Anyway, that's me getting angry, because I'm just seeing a lot of foolishness. Because I see him clearly, man, and it's misleading a lot of our people, because that's what they do. They always use people like that to, they infiltrate our movements, our revolutionary energy, to dissipate it. So people like that are to gather as much of our soldiers, people that are hardcore for. Because when you see anyone that's going to come out for that million man march, has to have some kind of level of understanding to want to do that. So they gather all them together in one place, and just purposelessly. So once you do that, whenever you dissipate energy without getting something back, it literally deters you from moving forward. It's like punching the air. If you're not getting anything back, you're just going to get tired after a while. You got to see some kind of result coming out of it, and that's what he's supposed to. That's what he's there to do. You know, it's just a blackface for white supremacy, just like your Obama. You know, it's even worse than Obama. Well, it's not worse than Obama because we haven't seen the real face of Obama yet. With this book, so I'm reading page 132 now of the Nazis. In one of the segments of the Nazis' international film, right, shows you a picture of the film. It says the genetic heritage of the Jews. You pay attention because we're dealing with genetics now. The genetic heritage of Jews. Hitler was dealing with a lot of genetic stuff. That's why he knew exactly who he was targeting. You know, they weren't taking people into slavery for no reason. All of this stuff, they knew exactly what was going on. They knew the plan. Okay, their main enemy is us. We're the ones that are going to rise up and rule over all nations. So everyone else is not their main enemy. Their main enemy is us. So as soon as they keep us unstuck, they need to make sure that we keep on staying down, you know, while they're doing their plan, because they don't want prophecy to get fulfilled. So he said, the genetic heritage of the Jews is purportedly traced to Oriental, Negro, Near Asian, and Hamitic people. Obviously, they had to put all of that down, you know, but we know that it's literally the Negroes specifically. Now, we have remnants of all our people scattered all the way through, so genetically he will have been dealing with these remnants in all these places, okay? Hence, the film concludes, the Jew is a bastard. Now, let's show a picture of this Jew that is the bastard that he's talking about. Okay, like I said, I'm going to post a picture to show what he meant by, you know, the Jew. And you see it's the pale-skinned Jew that he's showing as a bastard. Okay? And then he shows the Negro, and then he says, you remember he said genetically, like you can trace genetic heritage of the Jews, popularly too, they were Orientals, the Negro. So he's telling you, Hitler wasn't dumb. Hitler was a propagandist. He knew exactly what he was doing in every stage of that war. Okay? Alright, so I'll post a picture for you there. That's why I wanted to really get to you. So I want to show you what the whole agenda of the Zionists was. 1948, that's it. May 1948. That's when the Jews would supposedly have come back, but it was actually they put people in the land because it had to be some kind of fulfillment of the prophecy. You know, so all of those were just the game. It was all part of the New World Order, and they're still keeping on with that same order till today. Okay, so that's just what that's what I wanted to get. May 14th, specifically 1948. Right. So we're done with that book. The Nazis, like I said, that's part of the reading list. Get that as well. Okay, so now we need to run with time because as you can see, it's getting dark. The Shabbat is over and it's finished this. Right. So carry on with the notes that I was reading. Parts of Spain, Portugal, in comparison to the DNA of the English. So looking at the map, right, which seems to share DNA with Iberian Peninsula and places like Germany, like we just saw, you know, because Germany, for the most part, like most of the people in Germany, they were the original, like, Edomites. Okay, because it's the dispersion of, you know, Edom all over the place. Alright, so this is what I'm trying to show you, the dispersion and the diffusion. Alright, so even though when you look at Iberia, it doesn't necessarily line up straight away with Edom in terms of geography, but you're going to have to look at the dispersion, which we're going to deal with as we're tracing, you know, the origin of the white race. Let's keep on going. Let's examine this R1a and R1b haplotype a little bit more. Let's deal with it. Okay, do you see the frequency of the distribution of R1b haplogroup? Okay, that's a question. If you don't, link it, ask me a question. Okay, this map, look at the map properly and see if you can actually see the distribution. Okay, alright, check this map out now. Tectonic Nordics. Pay attention to the Nordics. You know, there's two things that you need to pay attention to: the Neolithic era and Nordics, right? Because these things are things that, you know, stand out and will show you exactly who we're talking about. Okay, I like this one too. You know, this pre-tectonic. We know what a tectonic plate is. When the tectonic plate shifted, because it all goes back to the flood. So the flood is what made the tectonic plate shift. And that's where most of these distribution actually started. And this is what we need to go back to if we're going to understand the gene flow. Okay? This is a beauty, and I want you to pay attention to it. Because I am going to link this to the anthropological and morphological evidence that I'm going to bring when I read, the races of Europe. Very quick. Okay, so here is some interesting facts about the British and the Irish DNA. Okay, so to finish examining that map, that's it. Let's move on. Interesting facts about the British and Irish DNA. I'm giving you guys time to examine these maps yourself. You can go back, play the video back, look at these maps again. Okay. On average, this is the facts about the British and Irish. On average, that's why you see the Queens here in Britain. There's a reason. Okay, British and Irish is why your passport is British and Irish. You didn't say British and Wales or British and anywhere else. British and Irish specifically, because that's Edom. Okay. No white people are the same. Okay, so it says on average only 30% gene types in England derived from the Northwest Europe. 75% to 95% of British and Irish Y-DNA matches that's derived from Iberia. 75 to 95% matches that which is derived from Iberia. They're the same people basically. Ireland, coastal Wales, and central and western coast of Scotland are almost entirely made up of Iberian founders. Who the Iberian founders is talking about? Their father Edom. Okay, that's why you see. I'll give you even a clear example, just so we can let's get some scriptural context in the middle right here before even we go further. Is there any other nation on the earth that uses dukes for their leaders? Let's find out. In the scriptures, you know that Edom still use dukes, so that's not a new thing. So when you see the Anglo-Saxons, when you see the British, using the Duke of Edinburgh, that's Scotland, that's what we're looking at. There's a close link between all of them. The Duke of whatever, all those names. This is what Edom. Go to Genesis chapter 36, verse 40. And these are the names of the dukes that came of ESAU, according to the families, after their place by the names of Timan, Duke, Kenaz. You get the point, right? Basically. And then it goes on to say in verse 43, these be the dukes of Edom. Show me another place in the scriptures where any other nation uses dukes. Okay. This is getting better and better, right? Okay. Let's clear this mist of confusion about Edom. Okay. So I put that note there just to remind myself that I make sure I say that, because there's too much confusion in Yasharallah right now about, Edom was not originally white, it was Rudy. We're going to deal with that. Yes, it was Rudy, and he's still Rudy till today. You just don't understand what that means. Okay? Right, so we're going to see the difference between when you say something is white and when you say something is Rudy. Okay? Like it says, even King David was Rudy. He will have been very light skinned. Yasharallah is the cake unturned. If you burn one side of the cake, if you keep the cake unturned, the top part is going to be very light. So all shades. Right. Let's keep on going. The rest of the non-English parts of Britain and Ireland have similarly high rates and frequencies of Iberian type markers. The rest of the whole of the English parts of Britain and Ireland have similarly high rates of Iberian markers. That's that R1b haplotype we're talking about, right? Okay, let's keep on going. With marked heterogeneity, hetero means different. Homo means same. Right? Someone's a homosexual, same sex. Heterosexual, different sex. Heterogeneity means different genes. Okay? With marked heterogeneity, that means you can trace the actual divergence. That's how strict it is. Right? England has rather low rates of Iberian type marked heterogeneity. It has less than 58% of Iberian samples. Even that itself is high in itself, but we know that it's dispersion all over the place. Now let's move on to maps showcasing the distribution of light eyes, blue, green, grey around Europe. right? So these are the ones. This is different. This is what Blumenbach was calling the pure seed. You know, this blonde hair, blue-eyed, pale. This is proper white people. Edom is not proper white, right? It's Rudy, but it's you know, today when you're identifying, you're gonna identify him as your white man. It's still under that white supremacy. He's still gonna be pale-skinned, but you just need to understand what that means. Okay, so let's keep on going. So most of your people in British and Ireland, they're white, but because we don't understand we don't have understanding of what white is. Because when the scripture, when it talks about, you know, Edom, and then he speaks about Gehazi literally being white. You know, what was he talking about? Okay. It is well known that people from Wales and West Country in England tend to have darker eyes than people from the rest of Britain and Ireland. Okay, so people from the West, you know, that they tend to have darker eyes. Let's keep on going, let's explain that. This map shows that the majority of the Welsh people have darker eyes. Quite a rarity in the rest of Northern Europe. It's quite rare to see that in the rest of the Northern Europe. The Northern Europe, what it's talking about, you know, Turkey, like I told you about Turkey. That's Northern Europe when you look at it properly. You know, that's on the other side, but it's still classed as Northern Europe. Okay, that's the side of the north. That's north of, that's actually North Africa, but when we look at it in terms of Asiatic terms, when we talk about in terms of dispersion, it still counts as Northern Europe. And that Turkey, the original Turks, they had blonde hair, blue eyes. You know, they didn't have, you know, dark eyes or nothing like that. Okay. Says, so pay attention to this map I'm posting now, right? You seeing it? The majority of the Welsh, you know, have darker eyes, quite a rarity among the rest of Northern Europe. So just look at the map and see the distribution. Okay, let's now look at the natural hair colors in Britain and Ireland. Okay, so we see what we're doing here. We're checking out the phenotypes. Okay, so look at natural colors now. So when you say about color, it's not just limited to the skin. That's why you guys get confused when you say, oh, you know, the white man, the white man, the white man, this, the white man, that Edom is the devil, you know, but the white man is the devil. Yes, Edom is the devil, the white man is the devil. Which white man? Are you talking about the white man as the pale skin, blue-eyed, blonde hair white man? Or are you talking about Edom, who doesn't have blue eyes, but he has a pale skin, but doesn't have blue eyes? He doesn't have blonde hair, he has black hair. But we're going to look at the phenotypes now. Okay, so let's look at the natural colors, hair colors. All of these all form your phenotype, not just the skin color. All of these phenotypes are what's showing what's underlying in your genes. Okay? Okay, we're going to revisit this again when we look at the morphology and the phenotypic distribution when we check this book, The Races of Europe. Let's keep going. Right, C. Wesley, we're going to give you some sources now you can check. C. Wesley, that's W-E-S-L-Y. Dupertius, D-U-P-E-R-T-U-I-S. You want to check it, it's an article, right? Conducted a survey of Irish people in the 1940s. Kind of similar time this book was written, The Races of Europe, done by Carlton S. Kuhn. Right, he conducted a survey of the Irish people in the 1940s under the Department of Anthropology of Harvard. And interestingly, this guy that did this research, you know, Carlton, you know, did it. He was an assistant professor of anthropology in Harvard as well. So Harvard has been doing a lot of work on this stuff. Okay, Harvard University. Let's keep going. He gathered the following data. Let's look at what he gathered as data. The Irish was predominantly brown. That was his conclusion. Okay, so I always like to start with a conclusion. So just in case you want to stop at this point in the video, you know the Irish is brown, and we are linking the Irish straight away to Edom. The Irish, British and Irish, you're Edom, you know, and they're linked. We know that they're the ones that control in America, one and the same people, right? The Irish was predominantly brown. I want you to pay attention to that part. That's why you see when you go to Israel, they have the black hair. You hardly see any of them have brown hair, but you're too busy looking at their pale skin, but you're not looking at other phenotypes. You hardly see any of them have blonde, blue eyes. Maybe the occasional ones, those ones will have an issue. They have another, there's something else going on. They're not pure Edom. If you're pure Edom, you're not going to have blue eyes. Okay? So these kind of things you need to start paying attention to. It's a holistic phenotypical examination. Right. So it says the Irish, that's what this professor concluded. C. Wesley Dopetius, he concluded that, you know, the Irish was predominantly brown. Now this was the frequency, this is what he got, what, you know, here's the data he got. Black or ashen hair, A-S-H-E-N, ashen hair, like proper black, like my hair, right? It was less than 15% between the we're not talking about woolly hair, we're just talking about the color now. Okay, black and ashen hair, less than 15% between the Irish. Dark brown, 50% approximately. Like he said, they are brown, so it's just showing you. So he wasn't talking about the pale color of their skin here, it's talking about how it's showing that they're brown is by the color of their hair. So that dark brown hair is another phenotype that's been carried on, that's showing something that's going on in their spirit, it's going on in their genes. Okay, medium brown, 15%. Blonde and light brown, 5%. Okay, so the blonde and light brown, who are they? They're not Irish, they're not British, they're not the Germans. So who are these people? These are other people. Okay, right, black Irish. You know, a term synonymously used with a dark-haired phenotype, exhibited by certain individuals native to or descended from Ireland. Okay, so this is a term that's usually used for black Irish if you're native to, right? We're talking about Edom specifically here, but obviously they're going to use those words. Okay, dark hair, brown eyes, and medium skin tone. So they're not going to be completely pale, like pale, like, you know, those when you see white and pale, blonde hair, blue eyes. No, they're slightly darker. Okay, but they're still white. That's what I'm trying to use the terms they're using now. White and black was only came up by Blumenbach, you know. So he was using that for a clear categorization of a specific people, sifting. We're talking about genetics, we're talking about divine genetics, sifting of the seed. The lighter that skin gets, the more it's showing the curse that's on that, you know, those people. The more it's showing the mark that was placed on them. That's the mark of Cain. Okay, so now let's take a look at Wikipedia. Let's look at Wikipedia actually. The origin of this R1b gene. This is the strongest in British. It's strongest. This R1b gene is strongest in Irish, Spanish, and Portuguese, and where they are taught to be from. This is from where they're actually taught to be from. Okay. Okay, so the source there is Karafet, Karafet et al. This, you can read the article, Karafet et al. Okay, check it out, find out for yourself. Point of origin of R1b, Euro-Asia, right? Because kind of round about Western Asia. Okay, if you're looking at those maps, you should be able to try to identify these things, try to find out for yourself. Okay, early research focused upon Europe in 2000 on Ornella Seminole, which is Ornella, O-R-N-E-L-L-A, Seminole, S-E-M-I-N-O, and her colleagues, right, argued that the R1b had been in Europe before the end of the Ice Age. Pay attention to the Ice Age now, because we're going to go to the glacier period when we're reading the rest of Europe, because that's what I'm going to wrap it up with and tie it up nicely so you see how it all flows in together. Okay, like I said, genetics and anthropology shouldn't be a conflict, it should be the same. Okay. Right, it says she now and her colleagues argued that, you know, R1b gene has been before the end of the Ice Age, right before that, and had spread northern from Iberian refuge after the last glacial maximum. Pay attention to that. Glacial maximum just means that is that period of the Ice Age. Okay. Estimated age estimates of R1b. The age estimates of R1b in Europe have steadily decreased. in more recent studies, at least concerning the majority of R1b, with more recent studies suggesting a Neolithic age. Remember I said you pay attention to that. The more recent studies are now suggesting the Neolithic age or younger. So we're going to go back and I'm going to explain it when it comes to the Great Flood and how that links to the Ice Age and how the origin of the white race came to be. Okay, why we see the white people that we see today. Okay, or younger. Only Morelli et al. That's O-M-O-R-E-L-L-I et al. You can read the article. Have recently attempted to defend a Paleolithic origin of R1b1b2. Okay, that's another offshoot of R1b. So he's the only one that's defending, you know, it's coming from a Paleolithic. These are all different errors. Alright? Right, Barbara R.A.W, A-R-R-E-D-I, and colleagues were the first to point out that the distribution of the R1b1 STR variants in Europe forms a claim from east to west, which is more consistent with the entry into Europe from Western Asia, the dispersion, right? With the spread for farming and agriculture, right? So this is how most of them were from east to west moving along for agriculture. I'm going to look at that when we look at the race of Europe. Just pay attention to all these things. When we go to the race of Europe, it's all going to start to click in properly, right? Why were they dispersing? After the Ice Age, no food, no trees, no crops. They have to keep moving, survival. So when they say that we were monkeys swinging from treetop to treetop, we're cannibals eating each other, no, they're telling their story, you know, because why would we need to eat each other when we live in a land of abundance? Right, when we live in a land of abundance, where we have everything that we need, you know, we live in tropical places. They're the ones that had to suffer that Ice Age. Right, let's finish this. Okay, so you can see that paper is 2009 paper in Chiaroni et al. That's C-H-I-A-R-O-N-I. I hope you're taking notes because that's why I'm reading all of this and taking my time with you. Okay, right, he added to this perspective by using the R1b as an example of a wave of haplogroup distribution. He used this as an example. This is why he added new perspective to it now. So rather than just dealing with it, he used it as a means to show the dispersion, to show the waves of haplogroup distribution, gene flow. Okay? In this case, from east to west. The proposal of a sudden eastern origin of R1b were supported by 3 detailed studies based on large data set published in 2010. These detected that the earliest subclades of R1b are found in Western Asia and the most recent of Western Europe. While age eliminates in these articles are all more recent than the last glacial maximum. So all of these articles, what they have in common is that all of these are more recent than the Ice Age. Okay? All mention, but they all mention this Neolithic era. Okay? When farming was introduced to Europe from the Middle East. This you can read also in another article, Myers, M-Y-R-S-E et al., published August 2010. Okay, direct evidence from ancient DNA may be needed. This, I want you to pay attention to this point. This is why I'm going through all of this stuff and why I'm going to go to the races of Europe, because we need to go back to the roots to understand the gene flow. It says direct evidence from ancient DNA may be needed to resolve these flows. This is what one of the professors were talking about. You can read the article Lee, L-E-E et al., published in May 2012. It's more recent. Okay, so he analyzed the ancient DNA of human remains from the late Neolithic Baker site of Kromsdorf, Germany. That's Kromsdorf, Kromsdorf, Germany. Identifying 2 males as belonging to the Y haplogroup R1b, as we established. People in Germany, they are the Edomites, they are real Edomites. These are the ones that ended up as your Khazarians today, the ones that keep so-called in Yasharala today. Not all of them. Most of them were slaughtered, and those the remnants of them that still fight for reparation and all of that survived. They're all one people. They just sacrificed their own people. Okay. All right. Haplogroup R1b. Analysis of ancient Y-DNA from the remains of population derived from early Neolithic settlements. I'll read that paragraph again. Right. It says, he examined and analyzed the ancient DNA of human remains. That's this Lee, right? Lee, professor guy. From the late Neolithic Bell Beaker site of Kromsdorf, Germany, identifying 2 males as belonging to the Y haplogroup R1b. An analysis of ancient Y-DNA from the remains of population derived from early Neolithic settlements. Okay, so you'll also analyze the remains of the early Neolithic settlements to get clear. What they do radiocarbon dating. Most of them that you're British and you're Irish and you're Scottish and those are the real Edomites. Okay, you have other Caucasians, you have not just other people, like we see that E3b, that could be very, very likely be Gehazi seed, but we don't know for certain, so I'm just throwing that out there. Someone wants to give like an indication of who Gehazi seed is today, which white race represents Gehazi today. Please hit me up on that. Alright, now let's go to the book, The Races of Europe.